Greetings, adventurers, heroes, and travelers alike. Gather around and I will share with you a tale as old as time. A profoundly bold, and possibly stupid, adventurer preparing to embark on a journey through a desolate wasteland filled with unimaginable riches, knowledge, minerals, and peril. Danger and mystery await around every corner, dastardly beasts, merciless rogues, but nothing will stop a hero from standing proud in the face of adversity. And loot. Let's take a moment, bow our heads to Saradaman before we see what perils await us. And of course, the loot. Good morning and welcome back. Today's video is brought to you guys by the Wilderness. Wilderness 101. Starting off today, we'll be going over the Wilderness Agility Arena. I will cover the requirements, the mechanics, what to expect, the XP/GP per hour, the recommended gear setups, as well as tips and tricks. Your starting requirements are going to be 52 agility, which is boostable. Your second will be access to a looting bag. Third will be a magic level of 82 or 79 for Ice Blitz and Bind, respectively. Another requirement that is not entirely required but highly recommended is 43 prayer for overheads against the pkers. The Wilderness Agility course has two mechanics we need to cover. The first one is a ticket system that awards one ticket per lap, which is redeemable for agility experience by the individual or as a stack of as many as you can acquire. The second is the loot system, where after each lap completed, the player can tag the ticket totem after paying 150k to receive loot directly into your looting bag. This loot dramatically increases as your streak of completed laps goes up. Your streak resets and or decreases if you exit the course by any means, and it decreases by 10 if you log out inside of the agility arena. With all of that covered, let's go ahead and take a quick look here at where the agility arena is located inside of Gilenor. Firstly, let's take a look here at where the arena is. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of supplies here from my bank for a single triple E to attempt to complete the lap. And I use the obelisk here to teleport up to the wilderness. We're running past the ice giants. And we're going to cross this log here. Now, this is going to actually put us inside of the arena. So I'm going to do a quick lap here to just show you guys what the gameplay loop is going to kind of look like. As we're running through here, we see another player here kind of with us. But you're just going to be doing kind of your basic agility things here, you know, completing each different obstacle. In case you fall down, the ladder is actually right there to the north, and that's going to bring you back up in case you fail any of the obstacles, unfortunately. These obstacles, when you fail them, do actually deal quite a large bit of damage, as well as the skeletons being inside of the arena. You're actually going to take a pretty decent amount of chip damage if you come in here entirely naked. So I will definitely say that that's going to harness or hamper your XP per hour, unfortunately. Now, coming up on this second lap, let's go ahead and take a quick look at some of the efficient tiles and how to efficiently complete each lap. There's a small delay if you start an action before your character is close enough to interact directly with the action. So we can observe and take note of that, and we can actually walk directly in front of each one of those options before we actually click on it, and that's going to actually save us a single in-game tick on each one of these interactions every single time we go about the jump or the cross or the swing. So after a lot of laps, that is going to add up. It's not entirely necessary, unfortunately, but it's definitely going to add up over time. So again, with this one, we're going to want to mark the tile right in front of that log, and same for these rocks here. I tend to like the rocks right in the middle. If you use the rocks on the left or the right, you have a much higher chance of getting hit by those skeletons as you come up. It doesn't do too much, but it does save 4 or 5 damage here and there. Now, after showing you guys those tiles, I'd like to just go ahead and show you what a lap looks like if you do take advantage of the extra ticks saved. And I like to personally employ a right-click method after I go ahead and use the option. Here is the ticket dispenser and the reward redeemer. So you're going to just tag it to grab your tickets, and you're also going to press redeem, and it's going to instantly put that loot inside of your looting bag. Now, if you want, these are the tiles you're going to need to mark. the one right in front of the ticket dispenser. It's where you're going to be grabbing. And then as well, the tile that is directly in front of this first pipe. Don't mind me spelling that incorrectly. Alright, go ahead and get rid of the old man there. And then as we go through this first pipe, the next tile that we're going to want to be marking is the one that is right there on the ground. So I'm going to walk into it, and then I'm going to click on the swing on the rope. That's just going to save me a single tick instead of having to try to run there and then my character interact with it. My character's there and then starts the interaction process right away. As we jump across the logs here, I'm going to right click on this one for the most accuracy. It's very easy to misclick when the ground is slightly angled in that nature. So if you right click it just increases your accuracy by a good amount if you are trying to consistently save that single tick. So with a quick show, that's what the gameplay loop is going to kind of look like from the jump. After we get here, we're going to be tagging the dispenser to get ourselves reward XP for when we're finished. And then after that, we're going to be taking advantage of just doing every single one of the obstacles and getting the completion experience bonus. So from here, you're going to go ahead and cross the plank, and you're going to run back to the obelisk just as we did as we entered. And we're going to set the destination for that back to 13 Wilderness. And then we're just going to run into the Ferox Enclave. So now here back at the Ferox Enclave, let's go ahead and take a look at what your basic good setup is going to be. That's going to be cost effective, as well as give you an actual good chance to get out of dodge in case you see a PK of any gear amount. So something to take into consideration is the Fremnik Boots 4 are exceptionally good in situations like this. They just have good melee defense as well as a small amount of offensive stat boosts. And they're essentially free. So typically I like to take those. I have on the Armadale Halo as well as the Granite Ring so that I can have extra magical defense as well as extra range defense for those two slots instead of opting for any type of offensive gear in those slots. I will say I do actually like having one of the books here potentially. If you don't want to bring the Anti-Dragonfire Shield, you can bring the Book of Balance for a little bit more offense if you want to. Now, if you have high stats, I would highly recommend you go with the same setup that I'm going with here. Whereas if you have lower defense, I would opt for higher offensive spells so that you can kind of Hail Mary, if you will, and get yourself out of dodge quickly. But if you have high defense and high attacking stats, you don't have to worry as much, and then defense is going to give you a slight edge on... You're basically not going to be catching the freezes super effectively anyhow, but if you can not be frozen once, that is going to be the difference between you living and dying. So with the different gear we have here, we have protection from Dragonfire as well as pretty good range and magic defense, which is really the things we're prioritizing. You should be able to save yourself from any type of melee attacks for the most part with protection, but those ranged attacks slipping into the magic freezing, you just really are the killers in terms of you being able to successfully escape from pkers. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and just start getting out the different potions and stuff. You are going to need to take one less potion than what I have in my inventory right now so that you can bring the coins. I went ahead and put 7 here to show you what it would look like if you wanted to opt and not do the redeeming. You could drop the coins and the looting pack. However, if you do want to go ahead and do the redeeming it for not just the tickets and actually getting the gold as well, then you're going to go ahead and need to bring that 150k. So right now we are risking a grand total of, with everything active, even if we get scolded somehow, we're only risking 550k even with the 150k cash in my inventory. So let's go ahead and start our adventure to the Wilderness Agility Arena. We're going to go ahead and teleport back up to 44 Wilderness. And from here, we're going to, as we did in the first clip, just run past all these ice dudes. These dudes aren't really anything crazy, I'm not going to lie. You probably don't even really need to protect from them. I just like to do it as something to do while I'm running. But it's definitely probably not super duper necessary, especially since we actually have pretty good tank gear on. And what we brought, even though it seems pretty cheap, those 150s, like the 144 range defense is really going to cause people who don't have pretty decent gear on to honestly miss a good amount on you, which will give you a chance to recover in terms of eating, might give you a chance to recover in terms of brewing and restoring so you don't get frozen on accident. So I think, yeah, for the next couple of minutes, let's just go ahead and see what goes down when we come out here fully geared up and expecting to start making money. Let's see what kind of experience and gold we can actually make. Just, real time, no fancy gimmicks, just trying to be efficient, trying to make sure that if a PKer gets on us, we can get out. I like to experience the different ways to skill in this game, and I'm not really super keen on only doing what's most efficient. I enjoy trying off-meta things as well, so it's really fun to just switch it up and have a good time, go try out an activity you haven't done before and kind of go see what's going on in the wilderness. It's also fun to just be part of the community in the wilderness so that there is PVMers to attack and, things for people to do. So it's a good way to kind of switch up that very boring rooftop grind if you don't want to keep doing it in that manner. Just come out here, do a little bit of anti-pking if you fancy. But so as of right now, it's pretty easy. I'm actually purposefully not doing it the most efficient way possible so that here in a couple laps I can. I am going to show you the difference between the right clicking of it and the left clicking of it. It's, again, pretty minor, but it is nice to actually have that option to, if you do want to be a little bit more focused and really just boost your experience rates by that small amount, it is very doable and manageable to actively do this. I had no problems doing 25 laps very quickly with no laps in my own level of focus. And I would say that definitely being able to then have the option to increase your experience rates a little bit is nice. It's not 3-ticking, but it's a nice change as well. And so, yeah, when you left click them, it's easy to misclick like I just did there. Whereas if you right click, it's pretty much guaranteed that you won't misclick it on accident like I'm doing here. That way you can just always be as efficient as possible. Now, one thing to take note here is that it is important that you're paying attention on the minimap because you most likely cannot log off inside of this arena. It is very challenging with all the skeletons hitting you every time you're going through these different obstacles that it is almost impossible to just log off directly if you see somebody. Now, I will tell you, the reason we bring the summer pie is because in case a PKer gets on us at this point right here, it's important that you try to complete the course rather than running out. If you try to run back around to the south and exit the gate, most likely you're going to just continue to get frozen and just get DD'd, and they're just going to deal enough damage to you to probably empty your supplies. However, if you jump across the actual obstacles, it makes it very difficult for the person to hit you because they can't reach you on some of these obstacles as you go across it. So it makes it extremely helpful as you're trying to escape. Because here is a great example. When you cross this log right here, this is your best chance to try to get a freeze and run if you need to run. Whereas if it's somebody with a little bit less gear, you might be able to just try to go for the freeze log right away on that same log. But here it's important because you can go ahead and freeze and then try to run out the back. So after I finished my first 10 laps, I went ahead and put my recorder on in terms of the speed, just so I could get a good example of how long it takes, to complete laps. So it took me, going as fast as I possibly could, it took me 12 minutes and 53 seconds to complete 15 laps. So you're almost doing one lap every minute. It's like 55 seconds or so to complete a lap. And with that, it comes out to actually a pretty nice amount of XP per hour. So right here was actually the first time I fell out of all the laps that I did. This is the first time I fell at 82 agility. It was 12 laps in. And so again, I'm just kind of hopping. I'm trying to make sure I'm paying attention to the different things that are going on. One thing that's very beneficial is whenever you are looting the totem, it does loot directly into your looting bag. However, you actually do get food that gets dropped to your inventory non-noted, which allows you to actually effectively have a full inventory and a chance to escape every PKer you encounter. It also incentivizes you to not actually try to run for your life every single time. It is very possible, if you're on a very high streak, to definitely just try to go for the freeze and try to continue your streak. If you're at the 60 mark, which is where you start getting the extremely boosted reward potential, it might be worth risking the 500k that you have on you and the 500k in gear to try to get a freeze so that you can do another hour, because the amount of money that you can make once you have the 61 lap boost gets to the point where you're making roughly 800k per hour or so, where when you're doing the first couple laps, the average loot roughly wavers around 9 to 14k per loot, where after you get to the 61 lap, it gets to 33,000 GP per average loot. And if you're able to do that 1 lap per minute at 33,000 GP per loot, that's 1.8 mil per hour if you can make it to that mark. So after your first hour, you're really making a lot of money. So after we finished, we went ahead and turned in our tickets, which rewarded us with almost 5.5k agility experience. Thankfully, at the time I was recording this, it was actually pretty dead, so there wasn't very many pkers to have to deal with, so I went ahead and just kind of ran back out the way I came. I did bring the lockpick as well as the wilderness sword with me. That way, in case anything sketchy happens, we have a very good exit in terms of going to the mage bank, as well as escaping into the magic axes. So all in all, I was risking 273k in supplies, up to 400k with all my gear. Now, I did bring the halo, which is Trover parchmented, which does unfortunately add 1 million GP worth of risk, but you actually do not need to bring that. You can definitely bring a helm of knee. It's going to be slightly less magical defense, but it will provide you with additional melee and range defense. So this is all the loot that we got from 25 laps. 25 laps again took me 19 minutes and 1 second. And it rewarded me with 19.6 thousand experience, actually. So almost 1,000 experience a minute. Actually, a little bit more than 1,000 experience per minute. And it turns out to be 141,783 GP total. For the time we have remaining in the video, though, I'd like to go ahead and go over a couple different options you have in terms of anti-pking. So our first setup is going to be focused on if you're going to be solo by yourself. It's going to make you look nice and targetable while also still giving you good KO potential. You have the Burning Claws and G-Maul for KO, as well as the Staff to tank, the Godhide body, as well as Torag's legs, Fremenic boots for the Granite Ring, Rune gloves. This whole setup comes to be about 1 million as well wrist. Again, a little bit boosted with my Halo, but with the Dragon Crossbow, the Dragon Bolts E, and the Burning Claws and Granite Maul, with a well-timed Venge, you have an exceptionally high chance to KO people in single individual fights. Guys, in this last clip, I'd like to show you another low-risk setup. That's going to be a great option. We've got the Ballista as our +1. We've got Fire Surge, Teleblock, Entangles, Mithril Seeds, a Phoenix Necklace, an Anti-Dragon Fire Shield, a Cape Switch, Helmet Switch, Double Eats, Triple Eats, Restores, our 150k to make sure we can get the loot from the course. And this one's going to be a really nice setup in case you want to do a little bit of multi-pking. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping in, and I wish you guys all an amazing day. Peace. Thank you so much for following along as we adventured deep through every nook and cranny in Gilenor, through every kingdom, and on our quest to be a legendary adventurer. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and tune into our next episode.